So that is how count works. So let me just start. So count, I'll write, let's say, length. Okay, I'll write length from the table name. So it gives me that 182. So what do you think? What is 182? Any guess, guys? Anyone who wants to speak? What this 182 is? What it is giving me? So Devanshi, column songs is not a column. Songs is a table. Okay, so it gives me number of. You can say the other answer is number of unique rows in that column. Then sorry, table lips. No worries. So see here, the other answer that does not. It is little confusing. So here I just wrote count. Okay, and I did not mention unique, distinct, whatever. Okay, I just mentioned plain count, column name, and then from table, which table I want. So it gives me 182. It means it's just a row count. That's it. There's no other filters here. It's just a row count. Now, if I want to use alias of SQL, so I'll write as uh, number of rows. Okay, from here. So it will give me the table column name, number of rows 182. Now, one thing that you can tell me, if I write star here, since I'm dealing with the columns. So if I write star here, so what will it give me? What will be the expected output? It will give me again the like number of rows in the table. Now it is considering all the columns. It is not specific to any column. So if in this case, when I'm just want the column row count, so giving length individually or star or on the entire column will not make any difference. So you will still get 182. So this command count star gives you number of rows in the table. Okay, this was the intent of it. Now, uh, as somebody said, distinct, number of unique rows. Okay, so here, uh, if I want to find number of unique rows, so let me select, check how many, and just tell me how do we find number of unique rows. So I have, let's say I have name, length, and album ID. So length will be, obviously it will be very diverse. Okay, because you have points and also getting unique will be almost 182. Okay, near 182. So but generally unique, if I talk about unique values, so we talk about categorical values. Okay, how many unique categorical values are there? Okay, so if I want to find unique of name or unique of album ID, okay, so I need to use distinct there. Okay, any guess, like how will we use distinct in our query? So if you're using a system, just try it. Okay, distinct is one keyword. Okay, uh, it will give you the distinct value of a column. Here you need to mention the column, that is mandatory. Okay, unlike constar. So let's say if I want distinct of album ID. So I will get all the distinct values of of column album ID in table songs. Okay, all the unique values of column album ID in table songs. Let's select. So I have this many distinct values. So I have, it starts from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 till 18. I have 18. These are categories. I have 18 distinct categories in album ID. Okay. Now if I want to take a count of it, okay. So let's suppose this was 1,000 or 10,000 distinct values. how do we take account of it? So what I'll do is I'll add another function. So before distinct. So SQL always works in a in and out way. So if you write multiple function, 2, 3, 4 functions in a statement, so make sure how do we write it? You write first will be your inner function that will get executed first. So here our distinct should be executed first. Okay. Then after inner function, if you want something like first outer. Okay. So this output of inner function will become input of outer function. Okay. And if in case it is a little complicated and you want something else to be done, then this will become input to that final function. Let's say this is a final function. So it works this way. So just take care of the brackets. That's it. It is very simple. When you start working it, working with it, it will come into a habit of writing codes. Okay, this is how it works. So fine. now if I now if I want to take the count of distinct values of album ID, what will I do? I'll simply I write a count. Okay. So I will write here count. Okay. And then this bracket will be closed here, and then semicolon, and just run it. So you get, where is my distinct? Okay, distinct. So I get 18 as my output. So what happened is, first SQL will run this particular code. It will feed in all 18 values, 1 2 3 till 18, to count will straight away count the number of values, and will give you the output. Okay, guys, agree? So a count is one. If you try this, if I want, let's say, instead of count, I want to get the average of distinct value. What will I do? I'll just write average. What do you think? Is this a correct statement or wrong statement? If anybody who is working in the system, just try this particular statement in the system. Okay. Anybody who tried and got wrong answer or right answer? And if it is wrong, do you find logic in that? What is making it wrong? And if it is right, so, like, if it is right or wrong, what is the logic in this? So first, check why it can be wrong. Okay, do you find any reason to this to be wrong? So I'm just finding distinct album ID. Okay, and in that album ID, what was my output? It gave me 18 different values, 1 2 3 18. Okay, if I club those 18 values and I take an average of that, so why should it be wrong? It will give me average. I mean, like, if you try this in your system, you'll not get, uh, again, this is, yeah, if you use other SQL, so SQL to SQL, it may vary, but here it should run. It will not give you any error. Okay, let me check. Yeah, so it summed up all the 18 values and divided it by 80. So that is why you are getting this. Okay, now let's get into some mm, like user made functions. How can you use user? How can you create user functions in SQL? Okay, we have lot from yesterday till now. We have all used a like SQL defined function. If I need to find an average of length, okay, without using SQL predefined function, how will I do it? If I need to find an average of length, okay, without using average function, predefined function of SQL, how will I do this? Okay, so what is average? So you can create functions here in SQL based on logics. Okay, so we will see a very basic one which we very frequently do at times. So what is average? Average is nothing but a sum of columns, sum of values, right? So let's say if I'm talking about uh, length. So before that, I would also like to show you how can you use SQL for calculations. So let's say select if I want to exactly, yeah. So but how will you do this? So I got one answer from Fahad, I guess, right? Uh, yours you are Fahad, right? Okay. So if I want to do some calculation, let's say I want uh, 1000 minus 500. Okay, I can even do this. So there will be a table, a default table that you can use that does not have any value. You can such in such places, you just dual is a default table in MySQL called DUAL. If you want to refer to, if you are doing some calculation and you don't have any table, you can mention dual. Okay, so we generally use dual a lot. Select star from dual. So it does not have any columns as such, but it is MySQL is having this table just in case you want to do some calculation without table. Okay, so here if I type 1100 minus 5, okay, so I need a table name, right? So I write from dual and I'll get my answer. So 95. So any calculation you talk about. Okay, so if I do sine function, I want to what is sine 1. Okay, so from dual it will give me the value, sine value. If I want to create a logarithmic graph, log 10, log is basically log yeah, log base 10, 20 from dual, it'll give me the value. So you can use any mathematical function, and here you start the basics of advanced. If you talk about advanced SQL, how do you use a data to create a graph, to check the modalities, to check if the data are in normal distribution. Okay, yeah, that will also happen. So if you just do the from, that will also happen, but we generally use from just to be on the syntactically correct way. Okay, so this was a advanced mathematical function that you can use, and then you come, yeah. So let's get back to our slide. So I guess we are done here. Now we just saw select, what we can do in select, right? What else? Okay, so let's get back to the slide. So count wildcards. Fine. In Now we'll start filtering. When we talk about filtering, we talk about where. Okay, so in where, let's use the same tables. Here we'll use start with filtering. So guys, in filtering, so here in filtering, when we use let's say select star from songs where. Okay, so here we put condition to filter out rows. I'm selecting all columns. There is no restrictions on column. In where clause, I'll mention what will be my uh, condition to filter the data. Let's say I want all the uh, rows, all the data for which album ID is 1. Okay, so I'll write where album ID is 1. Okay, now this filter will depend, like here comes the role of your data that you have declared, the data type that you have declared. So if this columns is integer, so you'll have to pass the integer value. If this columns are string, you'll have to pass its string values. That is where it this is my column ID. I know it's integer, so I'm just passing 1. If I would have known that while creating a table, I have created album ID as in varchar or a character, I'll have to pass it in a uh, quotes. So anywhere in SQL here onwards, whenever you see strings, okay, when you are calling, selecting, okay, filtering, so it should be in a quote. It should be in a quote. This is a quote. Okay. Now in different languages, so some accepts double quote a string value. Let's say here like this, or someone accepts single value, single quote like this. It depends like what SQL you are using. So in our case, in MySQL, single quote is acceptable. So let's select. We total have 182 rows, but if we filter it out, let's see how many rows we are getting. So we just got 13 rows. Okay, we just got 13 rows out of 182. So we understood that our album ID 1 is only 13. Okay, now when we talk about where, so it is full of mathematical and logical operators. Okay, so what are operators that where supports? Where supports one is your and. First we start with equal to. Okay, this is a basic one. Okay, so this is used for comparison. This is used for comparison if this value is equal to this. Okay, then you have uh, then you have or operator, then you have and operator, then you have equal to and or. Okay, then you have something called between is also logical operators. Okay, and then you have boolean operators as well. So in boolean you have whether it's true or false, true or false. Okay, so in uh, SQL, in MySQL, you get to see or. Okay, so but if you come across any other SQL, so it might be resembled by it might be represented by pipe. Okay, or is represented by pipe, and is represented by ampersand. Okay, so you might get if you start using some other SQL, you might get these symbols very frequently, but these are nothing very different. These are just and and or, replacement of and and or. You'll get this is boolean. Yeah, so this is majorly used as a operator in where to build a logic. To Yeah, there's a bitwise operator as well. So there's a bitwise operator that we'll discuss about it, that is used for incrementing. So you have this is called a bitwise operator. Okay, so uh, I as far as I remember now, this is it. Let me check if you have any other filters. So yeah, here we have. Okay, so there's a major chunk which I'm missing. So that is your comparator. Okay, comparator operator. So what are those? So those are your greater than, okay, less than, then you have greater than, not like not equal, like not equal to. So this is ampersand is used as not equal to. Okay, or also at the same time you can also use this operator greater than equal to at the same time. So they both will act as not equal to. Okay, this both will act as not equal to. Okay, then you can also use this not equal to like this. This is called not. Ampersand, ampersand is just ampersand is used as not operator. This is also used as not operator. This is not equal to some, if album ID is not equal to. So we'll all see one by one all these operators. So list of operators are here. Okay, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to. All these are operators which you can use in where. So if we start using it in our queries, so let's see how do we implement it. Select star from 5 minimize. Yeah. Select star from songs where album ID is equal to 1 we have seen. Okay. If I say not equal to, that will say it will give me all the values in the table which is not equal to 1, for which album ID is not equal to 1. So I'll get everything 2, 3, 4 till 18, right? So let's check it. Not equal to, okay, not equal to is not working here. So what it is saying? So basically this will work here. No, I did not I did not give the semicolon, I guess. No. What is album ID? Let me check what is the error. What is this here? You have an error in SQL syntax. Check the manual. Syntax near or operator. But I'm not okay. And then between. Okay, so this is the error because this. Okay, let me comment this. Since anywhere any error in the session will be considered as error. So they are giving me error for this. Let me comment all this thing. Okay. Uh, yeah. Now there should not be any error. Okay. Yeah. So it should work fine now. So what was the error? So I just wrote some stuff. I did not commented it out. It was red, and any red anywhere in the session will be considered as error. Okay. So select star from songs where album ID not equal to 1. I'll run this. So I got my output. What is my output? As expected. So anything which is not 1 will be my output. So you see, it starts from 2. It starts from 2, 3, 4 until 80. It will go. Okay. Now we tried. This is one version of not equal to. Let's see this. This version. This also works in the same way. This it is just the. It is just a different way of writing it, but it has the same functionality. Not equal to and this not equal to and not like this will both work in the same way. Now let's see other operator like greater than 5. So I'll get any uh, all the rows whose album ID is greater than 5. Okay, so I got it starts from 6, 7, 8, and so on, right? So similarly, you will get less than. You just you can write less than. Now, if I write, what will be the difference? If I write greater than equal to 5, so what will happen? It starts from 5 now because I have just given greater than 5. If I write greater than equal to 5, what it will give me? It will give me. It will include 5 as well as in my output. Okay. Now it does not include 5. Now it will, if I just write this, so it will include 5 as well in the output. That is the only difference. Okay. Fine. So let's move ahead. What are the new operators that we can see? Comparator we have seen, or okay. Now let's see, guys. So I say, give me build a logic now. Okay. So in album ID, I want. So let's say let's take some other example. I want give me all the songs whose length is greater than 1 and less than 2. Okay. How will I write it? So the thing is, I want to have a all my rows whose song length basically is greater than 1 and less than 2. So we'll use a between operator. Okay. So what we'll do is where length length is greater than 1 and length is less than 2. Let us check, do we have any values in this or not. So I'm using and operator, okay, in between. So I get all my there are how many rows we need to take account of this, and they're very limited one, actually very less, out of 182, whose length is greater than 1. So you see all the values are greater than 1, and it should be less than 2 as well at the same time. Okay. Fine. Now, if I use or, what will it give me? It will give me all. It will give me the entire records, because it does not make sense if I do greater than 1. So all the sub values will be greater than 1, or less than 2. So it will give me the entire row. It will not make any sense. Okay. Now think about let's we did a lot of stuff with integer. Okay, this both were integer. Now when we use a lot of times we use on string columns to filter out. Okay. Now if I want to use name column, select star from songs where name is equal to, if I want to filter out any name, so let's say I want all the songs which whose name is Tears of Sun. Okay, Tears of a Sun. So copy it, and you just need to put it in a code. Just make sure, like this is what you need to make sure, otherwise you will get an error. Put it in a code and run this. So what I'm doing is where name is equal to Tear of a Sun. Okay, run this. So you got a row, or only that row whose name matches to your filter. Okay. And not to mention, but still, when you talk about string, so you can do like you cannot do any mathematical operation in this. No greater than, equal to, less than. Okay. Not equal to, those will not work here. Okay, because this is a string. It's just used for filters. And when you use strings uh, as a filter, and you use some operations in this, like like, or so, those are called wildcard. Okay, now we'll come to the wildcard part. Now in this here, one operator that you can use is and or. You can use and name is equal to, and you can give any other name. If it is there, it'll give you the output. If it is not there, it will give you null. Okay, like this. Since it is not there, you'll get just one row which exists. What our name is equal to. Okay. So I got, since I had only one row name is matching, Sajid does not exist in the table, so it will give us just one row. Now tell me one thing: if I give and here, what will be my output? Any idea? Nothing. Okay. Are we all clear on this? The output will be nothing. Exactly. Yeah. Because it exactly works in the same way that we have seen. Or an and, if you know from our class initial learning, primary school learning, and an or operator, one or how or works. Okay, how and works. Similarly, it is done here. So if it is one, if this exists. Acha. So yeah, so it works in the same way. So if you see here, if anywhere, okay, it works in a true and false way. Okay, so if your value exists, so it will give you 1. If this is true, this will be 1 or true. If this is true, this will be 1 or 2, whatever. And then the operator works. one true and true will give you true, true and false will give you false. Okay, this exists. Now if it is or, so true or true will give you true. Okay, true or false will also give you true. So it works in that way. If it is true, you'll get an output. If it is not, you'll get an you'll not get an output. Okay. So are we good, guys, so far? Great. So now let's move ahead and understand what is null. Okay. So is null is basically if the value does not exist. So sometimes we use this as a filter as well. So how will we use it? So it's very straightforward thing. If your value does not exist, you want to see how many rows in your table have no values. How will you see that? You like select star from songs where name is null. So it will give you if the name if any uh, cell or any row where the name is null, you'll get it as an output. So we don't have any row wherein your name is null. Okay, let's see if this is the case in uh, other columns, like let's say alien length. If no length does not all the values exist. So album id. No, so all the values exist. So you this filter will not is not giving you any output. But if in case there was any blank values, you would have got it out as a filter. Okay, so we are pretty much. Let me go back to the slide. So basic SQL filtering, where we have seen between, we have seen. Okay, between we have not seen. So what is between now? In between, when we filter, we give a range. Okay, so here do we have passed on the range length greater than 1 and length greater less than 2. Okay, but let's say we want to do it in a more structured way. Okay, and we know a proper limit. So in that case, we will not have to write multiple lengths again, like multiple column names again and again. So in such scenarios, you have operator called between. So it will you pass the range here. Okay, what is your range? Let's say my range is where length between 1 and 10. 10 is very far. 10 and 1 and 3. Okay, and then check it. How does it work? Why is this giving me error? How? Okay, so here we write it in a different way. So I was writing in like in hive type. So 1 and 50. So you got this 1 and 15 is very far. We'll not be able to understand. So let's write 1 and 2. So you got length. All the rows whose length is ranging from 1 to 2. Okay, and this is the output. Okay, again, this is a mathematical operator. You can only use this in numbers, integers, decimals, float. Okay, not in string. Okay, so now comes your string. Like how do you logically filter out strings? Okay, we have seen a lot of options in integers greater than equal to all those things, but how do we do it? Strings. So we have something called like operator, which is called wildcard operator. Wildcard operator. So what is wildcard operator like? Like, so here we go in the same way. as we have gone so far. Okay, and since it is wildcard, it is explicitly only for string columns, string values. So where name, I'm not sure here in case like if I want what kind of name I want to filter out. Okay, I just have a starting alphabet, ending alphabet. Okay, and based on that, I want to get the output. So let's say my name starts with or my name has something time in it. Let's say. Okay, so how will I filter it out? Name like just take extra care of this syntax. This is a constant across. You need to give quotes since it's a string, and then in quotes you need to write percentage. Okay, 2%, and then what you want to filter it out. So I want something, anything which has time in it. Okay, or let's say anything which has a. Here the you just pass this. So what will happen? This uh, syntax, this percentage, will help you find a anywhere in the string. In any column, any row that it finds a in the name, it will give you an output. Okay, so let's run this. So now you see it is very difficult to figure out. So let's give some good numbers, good digits. So I'll find some time. If you have time in its string, give me the output. So see here, I got two rows. Okay, wherein I have back in time, time was there, and lifetime. So these two rows have time in it, so I got it filtered out. I got only these two rows. So likewise, you can mention, now you can play with this percentage. So like, let's see how what this percentage shows. You will understand that this percentage shows percentage both at front and at the back, says anywhere in the string. This says anywhere in the string. Okay, now if I write percentage uh, at the start, okay, so it means it can start, percentage means like any, it can have any string at the beginning, but it should end with time. Okay, anything in the beginning, or you can say anything at the like on the left side, but it should end with time. Okay, and similarly just vice versa of it. If you do this, uh, you remove this, you put a percent here, so it means uh, it should start with time, it should start with time, and anything can be there on the right hand side. So this is these are three different variant of it. Okay, and this becomes very critical when you start searching for some names or customer names or plan names in your database tables. Basically, you will get to understand this. Any question, guys, in this? So let's see if we have, if we can encounter anything. So time we have seen, since it exists somewhere in the string, it gave you an output. So so if you see here lifetime, so it did not have space, but still it searched for it. Okay, it has space, it searched for it. So there anywhere in the string, it should be continuous. You'll get an output. Now let's see. Oh, let's see the other example. Here, if I remove this, so what I'm talking about, I remove this. Let's take with check this. Now let me, if I want to search OUS, okay, OUS, I want to search this, okay, and it anything at the end, but it should end with OUS. I am just looking for this particular row, okay. You give anything at the beginning, but I want it to end with OUS. Let's see if we get this output. So see here, since it ends with OUS, I'm not bothered about what is there on the at the beginning. So I got this as output. Okay, let's check if there is anything. If I do like this, do we have any other options available in between? Yeah. So see, since OUS here in the second row exists in between OUS, it gave me this as well. Okay, because it was searching anywhere in the string, right? Guys, are you clear on this? Everybody, it is a little confusing. That's why I started it late after the number filters. Okay, now let's you do one based on your understanding. Filter me out. Okay, so I'm not getting that scenario here, but okay, let's filter out this. Any string which has off in it, OF, and the album ID is greater than 5. Two condition. Can anybody think about this? If you can write a query. I want a row which rows have off in it, OF, and the album ID is greater than 2, greater than 5, let's say. So I got one answer, guys. So anyone else who would like to try this? Okay, so it's again straightforward. So what I'll do is I'll just paste this here, and here in this since off is something which I'm looking anywhere in the string. There's no restriction in if it is front position, middle position, or at the end. I'll put it in a ampersand both the side, left and right. Okay, and I'm putting one more filter here, that is and album ID greater than equal to 5. So this should be my required output. So I got, there are so many offs. See, I got off here. Okay, I got off here. Okay, and yeah, so and then you see all my album ID should be greater than equal to 5. So I'm getting that as well. Okay, so are we good with which like operator? Shall we move ahead? Let's move ahead and check what we have next, if we have missed anything. So is null is we don't have this scenario. So these are all the operators that we have seen. Okay. Fine. So let's move ahead now. See some advanced filtering. Okay, in versus or. So so what happens? Now you'll get to hear a lot when we talk about filtering. So initially we learned filtering. Now you'll get to hear a lot on optimizing the query. Okay, so it's good to think about it in from this stage as well. Okay, so we have something called in operator. Let me comment this all out. Okay, so what happens, like let's say I'm selecting one column, sorry, start from songs, where my value should be album ID. I want album ID. My requirement is I want album ID 1, 5, 6, 9, and 10. These are all the albums I need. Yes, Sandeep. So like operator works for string. Yeah, exactly. Like operator only works for string. Okay, fine. So this is my requirement. So if I just go with what we have learned, and I'll say album ID is equal to 1, and okay, and then I write or album ID is equal to 2, is equal to 5, and then I write or album ID is equal to 7, or so I'll keep on writing okay, or album ID is equal to 9. So in two other cases, 10 other cases, it finds I mean, like, it sounds little okay when you learn, but in long term, when you work on a real project, when you get tens and hundreds of filtering conditions, so this or will not work. Okay, so that is the case where we have a operator called in. Okay, wherein you write album ID in the values that you are looking for. Okay, so select start from songs where album ID in, you give the uh, values. So what will happen? So this automatically this query will figure out the values needs to be filtered out from album ID, and this is the range of values we are looking for. Okay, so you run this, so you get the output, required output, and you see all the filtered values: 1, 5, 7, 9, 10. Okay, these are the values. Are we clear with in? So it's not like you cannot use or, you can use or definitely, but it's like in versus or. So that's why the title of the slide was in versus or. So you can even get the same output using or operator, but or is not efficient in such scenarios. So you'll have to also think from query perspective. Like, editing this simple query is very easier in long term when someone else looks at it, rather than each album ID going and checking. It becomes very lengthy, right? So that is one other thing. So we have seen or and in. Now we'll see or and. Okay, how do we use or and together? So this is you get the same output, but again it will be impactful when you have a very lengthy query. How you can use or and. So what happens? Let's say, for example, where your length, let's say your name, like off. Okay, we have off in this. and length length is equal length greater than equal to 4. Okay, so I have used and operator here, and similarly, if you write so subqueries, so in that case you can even achieve the same thing using or operator. We'll see when we write subqueries, we'll see how we achieve that using or the same thing using or. So in versus or works the same way. Okay, or with and. Okay, let's look into the queries where supply ID is equal to 9 or supply ID is equal to 11 and unit price is greater than 15. Okay, so it is just uh, this slide is basically telling you in where you can even start writing brackets. So that will be only applicable when you have a lot many filters. Okay, let's say if I also have this filter here, length is greater than 4, and so this is the case. Now if I want this to work in a sequence, so what do you want? I want name like off all the rows which is having off in it. Okay, or if in between you have or, so this will follow a BODMAS rule. Okay, so you all know this BODMAS rule, right? BODMAS. So bracket open, division, multiplication, addition and subtraction. Okay, so it operates on the same way. So if you want this to be the priority, put this in a bracket. Okay, where name like this, you put this in a bracket, and then uh, this execution will happen. You'll get the output of this, and that output will be then looked with this other filter using and then you'll get the output. So you can run this. Okay, so you'll have to match up the output with what you're expecting, but this is how you write. You can even give bracket, and it follows BODMAS rule. So order operation. Okay, so yeah, so order of operation is basically and again exactly the BODMAS. Okay, so any doubts, guys? So far, we can pause for 2 minutes. And sorry, I started recording just now. So just to briefly explain, you have this data. I have just created this two data. You have employees and we have department. This is my department. Okay. So this two table, like let's understand what the column is. The column was not copied here. Okay, so this is ID. Okay, this is name. This what is this? Okay, this is a name. This is last name, and this is your department. And this is your again ID, and this will be department ID. This is your department name, and this majorly is salary, I guess. The number shows it's a salary. It's a budget. So let's say for example, if I am putting it as a salary. Okay, so what numeric columns I have? This is my numeric column. Okay, and then this is my numeric column. Uh, this is my numeric column that I can like aggregate on. These are IDs. So IDs never gets into aggregation. Okay, these are IDs. This is also ID. Okay, so in terms of numeric column, if I see a valuable numeric column, so I have only this. Okay, that it's a number. It means anything. Okay, it means if I talk about dollarized value, so more the values, that means like more money I have, lesser the quantity, like lesser the number, lesser dollars I have. Okay, so it's a dollarized value, for example. Okay, then I was talking about this aggregate function. So we have seen so far this we have this basic aggregate functions that we saw in the very beginning of the session, wherein we just write some column name and we aggregate, and from the table name we get the sum of a column, average, minimum, maximum, all this thing. Okay, but the complexity comes, or the real problem will be solved only when you talked about labels, on what label you want to group your data. I want to group it, so I might group it on department label. Okay, I might group it on like department ID, department name, based on my need. So when I'm grouping up, I mean, like there are 10 rows, let's say there are 4 rows here, and there are the departments are repeating. Okay, let's say this is something like this. Okay, so if I roll up, so what does it mean? I mean, I want to reduce this 4 column, okay, to 2. Okay, if I'm rolling up on department name, this is my department name. If I'm rolling up on department name, so what will happen? Rolling up or down, it means you are working on that label. So this is my label, and I want distinct of these values in my final output. So I will just have these 2 values. Okay, it will not get repeated. So I have rolled up my data. Okay, guys, is it clear? Now, since I've rolled up, so I have lost two rows. Actually, I've lost 2 rows because initially it had 4 rows. I have rolled up and I made it 2 rows. So I might lose on number of rows, but the actual essence of it, okay, the numeric essence of it should remain as it is. So how will it remain as it is? If what I do is I basically sum the like rows. So IT, I'll sum this and IT this. Okay, and I'll sum this accounting and this. What happened? Okay. Okay, now if I talk about the numeric value, the dollarized value, it is as it is. I just took a column, took a value which was called common, and I summed it. I summed this two, I summed this two. So now I don't have any issues. Okay, and in SQL we do the similar thing. We do the exact same thing using group by. Group by. Okay, so in group by, what we do is we mention group by what column you want to group it by. So here in our case it will be department name. We grouped it by department name. Guys, are we good on this? Okay, so this was simple sum. Okay, this was grouping the data using just a simple sum. So in real scenario, people generally will ask, there are let's say 200 departments, what is the average salary of each department? Okay, so in that case you might do average. Okay, you might do average of 2, 3, 10 departments, and you can say logically or like mathematically that accounting. So you say logically that this particular value is a clear resemblance. Why is it so less? Okay, that's the reason. Yeah. So again, it is less average accounting. Okay. So what this is average, okay? This is sum. Now I just, since I rolled up, so it gives me, this value gives me a somewhat clear, a decent picture of the actual sum. Okay, since the values are less, so the deviation is very high. Okay, generally the deviation does not remain so high if you have tens and thousands of rows. If you average it out, so it matches to the values. Okay, until unless it is an outlier. So similar thing. If I want to see it in SQL, how do I do this? Okay, so let's get into the queries now. So are we good here? What we intended to do and what I was trying to explain you. Okay, so let's take a one quick example and then we'll continue this in the next session. Okay, so I want to how do I write a syntax of group by? Select star, select let's say I want name. Okay, I want name, comma, then sum of budget, sum of budget, and then I also want average of budget, average of budget. The same thing that we did in Excel. What is the table name? From department, from department, where, okay, nowhere. So just aggregated. Now I just need to group. On what label I'm grouping it by? Group by name. Okay, and that's it. So now let me run this query and check like if we are getting the same. Why is this? What was okay? That was employee, right? I guess. Which table? Department. Name. Yeah. The group by name. At times behaves a little strange. Group by name. Use analytics. Yeah. Okay, so it might be referring to some other database. That's the reason it was referring to some other table because there were so many names. In our case, there are only 2-3 names. Okay, so here I see, but still the output is not as expected. Okay, so fine. So there are 4 distinct department. That's the reason I'm getting it. So here, how you'll not be able to figure. Let me check if we have anything. Let's use this if it is possible. Okay, so we have warehouse, wherein we have, yeah, so this will be perfect. Okay, because we have a repetition here. Okay, we will be able to understand how group by is working. Then we have boxes, Here we have again contents are grouped. Contents are repetitive. Okay. Now let's take this as an example. Now what I want is I want I want to see distinct contents and the sum of its values. Okay, distinct content and sum of its values. So obviously I'll have to group it by contents. So let's write a group statement. I want to select. I want to see contents and sum of the value. Sum of value. And let's say I also want the average of value. Okay, average of value from boxes. Okay, and then I'll write a group by content. So now you see here I got so many repetitive rocks are I see rocks, then rocks. There are so many rocks here. Okay, so and those rocks will be summed up and you'll get a on which schema this is created. Use analytics. Yeah, so we had three distinct contents: rocks, sessions, scissors, and uh, papers. Okay, it gives me the sum of all the values and average of all the values. Okay, now quick thing just to make the code look good, just alias it as as value, some value, so that you understand it as well, some value, and this will be average value as avg value. Okay, let's run it again and see. So the column name got changed and this is your output. So what I did is basically I had so many columns in content and different values, but I wanted to see the aggregated value, the sum and the average of it. So I did it like this. Okay, if you are aware with uh, Excel, so in Excel we do the similar stuff using if the data size is small, we do it using pivot functions. We use pivot tables. Okay, so that is it. Now what we'll do is